welcome to another video. Now this is a video to run concurrently with the Zetec Sump video, because it's about building the oil pickup pipe. Now I did intend to have this all as one video, which explains a little bit why the video is a bit disjointed on the one I released for the Zetec Sump, so apologies for that. Hopefully you'll get from that what you need to get. On this video I go into detail about how to put this sump pickup pipe together. Now this is specifically for the ST170. It will work on a Zetec, but if you're doing a Zetec blacktop and silver top, the oil pickup pipe rather is easier to modify what you've got rather than having to make something from scratch. So if you're doing that, all you've got to do is lengthen it, and that's dead easy. But it is what it is. But this, for the ST170, the pickup for that doesn't really suit modifying, so it's better just to start from scratch. That's what this video is about. The next video then will be I'm putting together a test rig so I can show you how I test this to make sure this is sound, and test the sump, and I'll also put the oil pickup point, oil drain point in the sump, which I forgot to do in the main video. So hope you enjoy, and I hope you learn something from it. It's quite long-winded, the process of building a sump, so you can see why they're so expensive from the likes of Retroford and such like. I suppose if I was to put together some sort of set of jigs, I could probably knock them out quicker, but still the time it would take me to do that is really not worth my time to do it, to try and sell them or anything like that. So this is all about DIY. If you've got the time, you can save yourself some cash, because the actual bare materials aren't that much. Right, cheers, hope you enjoy, and see you on the next one. Right, now you've got two ways of doing this. If you've already got a Zetec engine, silver top or black top, the pickup pipe is easy, you just need to lengthen it. But this one, because it's the ST170, it's got a funny pickup that you can't really do much with. So you purloin this. Now this is from the VW air-cooled engine. Now this is all the air-cooled 1.6 VW Beetle type engines have as an oil filter, believe it or not. It's just that goes there. So that will fit quite nicely in there as our pickup. And then what we're going to use is the oil pickup pipe is this 16mm internal by 1.5 wall tube. Cheap enough. And then we can mess about with this. That valve will fit through there, you see. So when it's on the engine eventually, it'll sort of be sitting like that. So I'll have oil pipe come across here or around there to avoid the don't want to cross there because you'd be catching the pistons, but around there to avoid the pistons, and then drop it into the center there. Okay, so the next thing we want to do before we get too far ahead of ourselves is make a pickup plate for that. So the idea is we've got a bit of steel, the hole in the middle, weld that to it, and that will be our starting point for our oil rail or oil pickup tube. And then we'll be coming across here somewhere to pick up the pickup. Pick up the pickup. That's some good England, that is. So you want to be coming across here somewhere and avoiding our big ends, of course. I'm going to allow a little bit of extra as well to for the ST170 big ends being that much chunkier, and we can work out some sort of way of bracketing up to that after the event. Right, so that's where we want that pipe to come across there. Back to this then, get a bit of cardboard and make a template for that. Okay, so a couple of cap heads ready to be used on there. These are probably a bit long, we have to order some shorter ones, but they'll do us for what we want to do here now. So what I'll do is lock out first hole, like so. Suitable size, that's good. Hole there somewhere. Eventually I'll do this with gasket material as well. Oh, that one's not going all the way down. It's close enough. Do this with gasket material, and then that'll be a gasket to go in between those. Right, so that's what we're looking for there. And what we'll do then, rather than trying to make an exact copy shape of that, is just simply this sort of thing. Rough that out in some thick enough steel for that. Some 6mm or 10mm. We've got some 6mm here somewhere. We'll cut that out with a plasma cutter, and then smooth off the edges so it looks a bit nicer. And then we'll weld it to our first bit of pipe. So another idea for getting holes in the right place, to screw in a couple of nuts like so. So you can see there's the cap head bolt there and the nut screwed to it. Find a washer that will fit between them. That'll do us. Weld that to the nuts, and hey presto, you'll have your centres. You can then clamp that to your piece and drill through the nuts, which just center up the bit to mark the piece you want to do. So let's weld those on there, ready. So with those two there now welded in, if that's not too hot to undo that. So what we can do with that now is clamp that down onto our piece of metal and use those as guides to drill, and they'll be perfectly lined up with those holes there, which we'll now demonstrate. So this is our pattern which we need to cut out. Again, this is just a rough idea. I'm not getting too excited about it all being perfect. Line that up like so somewhere and minimize the cutting. But before we go cutting that up, what I want to do is drill holes in it, because it's going to be easier to mount it with the holes, to drill holes in it as one big piece. Right, clamp that down onto that like so. So see, now what all I need to do now is drill through those screw holes, and we're laughing. So what I'll do, I'll drill through one, then plug and bolt that one in, bolt and nut that in place, and then I'll drill through the other one. That'll help with it trying to swing around. All the help the better. Then hopefully that will screw in nicely into our oil pickup point on the engine and the oil pump. So we'll give that a trial fit next before we go cutting any further bits out. If we've been successful, this will bolt onto this directly. So let's give it a whirl and see what it looks like. Look at that. Lovely. Right, so now we're happy with that. We'll drill out our centre piece, and then we'll start cutting it out, ready for shaping the actual piece is going to fit on there as our flange. Right, we'll bolt that through again. And the beauty of using a washer now is the centre of that washer is where we want our centre hole to be. So that's just dandy. And we'll aggressively drill that out to the size that we want. Lovely. Right, happy with that. So the next thing I'm going to do is get the compressor going and cut it out with the plasma cutter. And that makes a lovely job of that. And the next bit is weld a bit of pipe to that. So we just cut off a shortish piece and then weld it on, and then we'll shape it up to suit us afterwards. That'll do us. We'll weld that centrally onto there. Let's get that flatter and beveled off. Would be good. Right, let's see about welding that onto there. That's as simple as that. I'm not going to nothing too over exciting about it. So there we go, that's that welded onto there. So we'll clean that back with a grinder to make sure the nut fits onto there nicely. That's why I like using the cap heads. You've got a bit more give with those. And that's nice and square and true as well, ready for that. So this gets us pointing in the direction we want for this. So snug this back down into here. Do need to flatten that off as it happens. I'll come back to that once we're all done. Right, so what we want to ascertain now is where we want to be cutting this, and we'll do that like so. We're also going to want to put a little kick in this, bring us around to it as well. Right, it's not the right tool for this, but we'll certainly give it a try. Oh, that's bending quite nicely, that is. Lovely. That's worked well enough. Crushed it a little bit, but it's perfect for what we want here. So what we need to do now, because what we want to do to get these to join a bend, is cut these at 45 toward each other also. So let's take this back off again. Right, so what we want to do is cut this effectively like so. So that will get us pointing in that direction. It's just about to get in this one right now. This should be the real challenge. Right, let's chop that off. Hope we don't mess it up. Right, let's see what damage we've done. That'll do us. Right, let's get some tacks on that, hold it in place. Lovely. We'll fully weld that now, and then work on to the next bit. I'm going to fully weld that, then I'll flatten that off before we go any further. Right, that's gone quite nicely. A couple of times in there we need to evacuate. Of course, I'll give this a really good cleaning out and rinsing out before we even consider running it on the actual engine. Right, this is more about checking the quality of the welding than it is cosmetics. You can see you've got a repair to do on that bit. The rest of it's looking pretty good. So we'll blast the bit on there now. Alright, the next challenge is to bring it towards where we want it in our hole. So if we stuff this back on there temporarily, we can see that the centre of our hole is basically the end of that. So I'm going to bring that around now so it'll line up with that. So the centre of that there is pretty much where you want it to come. So the centre is that point there. So let's bang it back on and see where we're going with it. Right, in order for that to come across to there, you're going to need to put a bend in around here somewhere. We want to avoid that as well, so that's coming about there. I hope we avoid catching that and get a bend on that. Just realised I was off camera and I did the bend. Right, that's looking promising. Got about 5mm clearance there, so hopefully we'll be okay. Not too bad. Right, there we go. Weld that onto there. That'll bring us where we want to go. Let's do that. Righto, we're getting somewhere with it now. That looks pretty good in there. I will of course be pressure testing this because the last thing you want is holes in this, because this is under vacuum and it'll just pull air in and make the oil all like homogenized and frothy. You don't really want that. Right, get that back on there yet again. Right, so the next thing we want to find out is the height at which to cut this off and then press onto there. So we need our, turn that off. So basically we're looking at coming to the height of this. So that's our maximum depth. Right, so my theory is if I cut off a piece of card like this and keep cutting until the right depth, and I can use that as a gauge to cut that off, I think. Yes, there we go. Okay, so we need to cut that much off of there. Okay, so we're looking now at cutting off about that much. The way this works is dead simple. It just pushes onto the pipe. So that then will push into there like so. There's our pickup. So what we need to do now is make a bracket onto there to hold that tidy. So this is where we're at with it. That's all bracketed on. The filter's on it, ready to line up with that lot. Like I said, all this will be pressure tested before you even consider using it, but you get the idea of what we're up against. Now some may wonder about these sharp bends here. I've done this before with a pop. It's exactly how I built the pickup pipe for the pop, and I had no issues, no oil starvation issues with that at all, so it worked well enough.